There's like an Indian slash Pakistani restaurant from the first time I went there. I went there with my mom and we ordered like a decent amount of food at the beginning, and then we ate it all and we were like, we're full but we want more, because it was really good. It's not like the most authentic thing in the world, but it was good. My name is Shaafi Farooqi. I'm from Chino, California. I've lived there my whole life. I go to Pitzer College. I'm a first year. Both my parents were born in Pakistan. My dad lived there most of his childhood and young adult life, and my mom moved to England when she was 3. When they got older, they're about 8 years apart. They had an arranged marriage and they got married in England. My dad was actually studying in Maryland at the time, completing his degree, and so after they got married, my mom and dad moved there for a year, and then they moved back to England for 10 years, had my brother and my sister. After living in England for 10 years, my dad got a job offer in California, and he was able to take it. Then they lived in California in Chino for 7 years, and then I was born. I know both of them came from poorer backgrounds. They didn't have a lot of like these big meals laid out in front of them when they were growing up, and so now when they eat, they'll eat really fast, and it's kind of like this subconscious thing of don't take the food for granted, like it's here, or when they do have access to food, they like get really happy, I guess. My dad, he likes to cook a lot of traditional Pakistani food, and my mom, she does cook Pakistani food as well, but she's more into Western foods because she was raised in England, and that's kind of what she grew up around and what her peers were eating, whereas my dad really likes the traditional Pakistani meals. When I was younger, I was a really picky eater until I was like 10 or 11. All I ate was like French fries, chicken nuggets, and pizza. Apparently it started when I was like 2 years old. I would start like crying for my mom to go to McDonald's in the middle of the night for fries. I thought that the other food they would eat looked gross or smelled gross or something. Must have been like around the middle school that I actually started trying new things and being more open to the different flavors and textures that were in the food that my family would make, or that was at like weddings that we'd go to. One of the things that I really used to hate when I was younger was dal, which is like a lentil soup. It's usually like a green-brown color, and it just looks really gross and mushy. And before, like the smell of it was like really gross to me, and it just looked terrible, and I was like, I don't even want to try it. And then I tried it once and I was like, I still hate it. And then slowly but surely it really grew on me, and that's something where I'm like, can we please have it every time I go home. I'm a little bit upset at myself that I didn't appreciate it when I was younger, because when I was younger my grandparents were still alive and I could have had their cooking, and by the time I actually could have enjoyed it, they weren't around or they were sick. So that's a little bit sad for me, and I wish I could have like experienced that. So now I kind of, whenever I go home, I ask my parents to cook a Pakistani meal or something. I feel like I have to make up for lost time and really appreciate it and enjoy it. I want to learn how to make them. I really don't know how to make anything Pakistani. So yeah, I feel like because I missed out earlier, they have more of a significance for me now. Anytime my mom makes a meal and she says her mom used to make it, that kind of makes me appreciate it a little bit more, because as I said earlier, I didn't really get much of a chance to eat my grandmother's cooking or be around her that much because she was in England, and then as I got older she was sick and wasn't really able to cook much. And so there's certain dishes like the dal or the lentil soup that my mom will make it the way her mom used to make it. It just feels nice in a way to have that connection to her, even though I didn't really get to eat her food. I think the main thing for me is just feeling connected to my culture and to my family through the food, because it's kind of the recipes that have been passed down from my grandparents to my parents and my siblings, hopefully to me eventually. Growing up, I didn't really feel that connected to it, and so I feel like food is kind of a way to reconnect to that part of my identity that I didn't get to before. I still really love French fries and chicken nuggets and stuff. I don't eat them nearly as often anymore, but a part of me is still always like, it's like a comfort food. I have a choice between these two parts of my identity, whereas like there's my parents and mostly my dad's background and feeling connected to my cultural background, even though I've never been to Pakistan. I don't really speak Urdu fluently, but it's kind of like a way for me to connect to that part of my identity. But also, I lived in America my whole life. My mom basically lived in England her whole life, and so that's also reflected in the American foods that I eat and enjoy. And it's like a unique opportunity to kind of meld these two different parts of my identity together, and I don't really think of them as two distinct things. Both sides of the spectrum kind of hold significance for me. I got my sleeve in this like really oily chicken curry, and it's been 8 years. The stain did not come out. It's just like, that was like right around the time I started eating these foods, and I was just like, why do I even eat this? Like, it's not worth it. That was also part of the reason I didn't really like it, because it's pretty messy to eat. And a lot of things you eat with like bread and you dip it in curry and like you use your hands. And that was just kind of like a turn off for me initially. I don't know what spice it is, but there's like an orange spice that like kind of stains your hands after. And now after I eat a dish with that and I see my hands are like kind of orange, I'm like, yeah, that was a good meal. It's just like a symbol of like being satisfied and happy.